So, I just want to walk you through like the basic flow and the basic structure of how it all works, and then get your input and feedback. So this primary page here, that's labeled Complete Training Manual, it includes like a meeting link for Zoom meetings. It includes upcoming event dates these would be like confirmed dates. Reminders for all staff, an easy way to communicate to all staff leading up to an event, or um, as well as potential changes for next semester. And then, and I'm going to relocate this down to here. So that's kind of in the same space. Um, what has been challenging in the past is when I'm trying to update 30 plus people. We've got almost 30 event team, and then we have coalition partners. And the event team, coalition partners, and volunteers will all be invited to this tool uh, once we flesh it out a little more.
Right.
Um, so these are updates about like different event areas and changes in event areas, um, upcoming needs. So let me pause there and do you have any feedback on that first section? Can you think of any other categories of information that um, all volunteers, coalition partners, or event staff might need to know?
Um, got dates, we got possible needs. I think it looks good from my perspective.
So just keep that question in mind, and as you work on your specific section, if you think of other things for your section, or these other sections, let me know. So what I'm starting to do too is I'm starting to organize different groups into teams together, like concessions, Sugar Shack, and Hub Sales all come together for the sales team. And the purpose for that is because of I want consistency on the systems that they all follow. And then I want to be able to cross train those individuals so that if we have like one of them are not available, we can swap them out with the different areas. The security team's a little bit different than that. It's more of like a system, but the security is going to include staging, setup, check-in, safety, and security.
Hmm.
Um, and so this is the leads of that area. I'm going to have Dimara go through and add phone numbers, email addresses, and pictures for everybody. I'm going to have Cassandra and Mandy uh, take those headshot pictures at events, because I also talk to different leads and different staff, some of which have worked together for years, and they don't even know who each other is and what each other does. And so, again, on this main page, giving people an opportunity to kind of get to know each other and be able to reach out directly to each other without having everything have to bottleneck through me.
Right.
Um, this is the first thing I need feedback on. Let me give. This is the list of the surge team for the events. Um, Obviously, we might not need that many people for a surge team. In the last
Yeah.
school, we weren't able to set up 4 lines, but there are other roles besides just a line, like checking people in. There's other roles that need to happen. As we transition to give out Thrive Bucks at every single event, or to every single person rather, um, the, we're going to need increased capacity for that. People making, welcoming people outside, communicating things to people outside as far as what line to get into and all that. Um,
Especially if we're sold out too, and like making sure that everybody has tickets ready, um, and all that.
So we might come back to this. The reason I'm considering you surge staff is because I want your regular location now to be the hub.
You're
Um,
right.
and so I want from the very beginning of training them this time, I don't want them to get used to you being there the whole time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and so I'm thinking of Savannah and Kristen as being the primary those the ones that you primarily want to train on check-in. They would both be there during check-in, and then they would alternate during the event, keeping an eye on the door, and helping monitor check-in for you. I see Steve as being more big picture and more like roaming with whatever security issues come up, and then the other female lead would also help with whatever issues come up. I also have Kristen tasked with specifically protecting the school and protecting the school from any mess or damage and keeping an eye out for anything we might be doing that might be a poor guest.
Yeah.
Um, so are you still seeing the complete training manual right now?
Yeah, I have it open on my computer as well.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to pull over here was this is like the complete list. So we don't have to do a deep dive on this right now, but if what I did was I just clicked it away. What I did was looked through this list. This is the updated list that's in the Thrive Drive. You're wanting to look for the new one is 2024. I cleaned it up from all the old mess and I'm looking at this like knowing what I'm expecting of people in other areas, but if you have suggestions of people who might also be available, what I tried to do was look through this and say what's the maximum amount of staff we can send to check in. Because
Hmm.
I'm also building these systems for growth, and I want to be able to go back to 700 people potentially if we can handle that kind of crowd. And so I want to give us as many people as possible on that surge team.
Right.
So you can look at this list for later for that purpose. Um, and that's one document I don't have linked in the manual because that's got everybody's pay rate on it, and I don't want to share that with everybody. Um, then underneath the team, you've got what the team is responsible for, so that everybody kind of knows each other's roles more. And then you can click and open their specific training manual. We'll go down to, well, actually, we'll start with security since you have a lot of check-in and mainly have check-in experience, and we'll also look at the hub. So the way that the individual manuals are laid out, it mostly follows a chronology of like prepping, setting up, running the event, volunteer orientation, running the event, packing up, and then resetting after the post-event stuff. The one thing that's a little bit out of order is I put the packing list on the front and center because if me or somebody else is opening an area to pack, I want to be able to access that as fast as possible.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking is that we would highlight like this would stay highlighted for the standard packing list, and then you would go down here and like let's say that this is not a great example. Let me pull over the theme team for photo booth and decor. This is a better example of how these supplemental packing lists work. We want to build a packing list specifically for like the different theme decor for Candyland, 8-Bit Bash, each theme. And then instead of having to rebuild this list from scratch every time, we just come down here and highlight the whole thing. And now we know that okay, we need the standard list, which is here. We need that packed, and then we want to get you know, here we'll do it correctly. For this next event, we have the Christmas beach party. And so we want to highlight this one. And so a lot of these are just placeholders at now. I'm working with each team to fully flesh out each one of these lists. and to make sure that the standard list especially is up to date. Updating the table count for each area is really important. And I don't even know that I think we have 17 tables, but I don't even know how many 6 foot tables we have. That's another thing that needs to be updated. Um, so then for the security manual, they don't have as many themed areas, but this thing right here is like a we just copy and paste this if you want to make another like theme specific or special activity packing list. So for event area prep, we have the different types of supplies that need to be prepped. So we have staging supplies,
Mhm.
setup supplies. So thinking about it from the posture of thinking about it from the posture of like what the different roles are. And so like event area prep would be uh and this is one of the things that we have to think through as far as who's doing what, because if this is probably what I was about to put is probably actually something that comes from the hub team to the security
Right,
team
right.
being like the overall layout of the event. Like the event schedule and the event layout would be something that would need to be prepped for staging. Um, the other things that would need to be prepped for staging would be like, making sure all the hand trucks or dollies are up to the task or whatever. But that's also a toy room prep area. So then with the event setup, this is an area that I need to do a deeper dive on. I need to talk to Steve about how we want to handle the walkie-talkies at the beginning. Because a lot of times the walkie-talkies are being given out after we've set up and they're being taken away before we've taken down. And
Right.
the time that we need the walkie-talkies the most is probably during setup and breakdown. And so we need to uh, and those are the types of details that we just have never gotten quite right, and that's what this training manual is for, is to just to figure out a lot of those things. Um, I'm gonna have Steve. We're dividing setup into two pieces where we've got setup for the overall event, the tables, the pop-up signs, canopies, the larger things, the basic footprint of the event, and then that's going to happen like 2 or 2:30, and then at 3 is when the actual each individual event area will get set up and the individual decorations.
Mhm.
And so I'll do a walk, either myself or Tyler will do a walkthrough on where each sign goes and and then my hope is to have a table layout, or a rough table layout of where the tables need to go and stuff. Um, but if Steve at least knows the basics each time, then he can kind of roll with it. Um, then um, there's some things that a lot of this I need to finalize with Steve. Um, the other thing to think about here would be so you got staging volunteers, you have setup volunteers, and then you have check-in volunteers. Yeah. Hey, did you bring your gear home? Come upstairs. We're gonna do a gear check-in. Come upstairs. You gonna get your allowance? Are you gonna get your allowance? You got your gloves and your face mask? Come here, let me see. Oh, good job with the face mask. Where's your gloves? Did you find them? That's Allison. Say hi.
Hi, Silas.
Here's one glove that doesn't match the glove that you lost. Whose glove is this?
Mine.
It's all wet. Can it doesn't have your name on it. Can you go put it down by the fan? Okay, you can get a snack. Here, here. That's not the same. Here, put this.
Put it aside.
All right, then put your stuff back on and
Okay, I never take anything off.
when you come back in later, put it in front of the fan so it all dries out. Okay, and we still need to find your gloves.
Yeah.
All right, see you later, buddy. Careful. Oh, it loses so much gear. Okay, yeah, I see that you're working on that. Great. Um, so that's another thing that we're going to centralize with the security check-in. All the lanyards will get handed out here.
Yeah.
All the notebooks will get handed out here, walkie-talkies, all that stuff will get handed out at security in the fast pass line. So um
And then down lower here on this spring of the event thing, that would be like more where you would explain who gets what wristband, right? And then like what tickets for what to be scanned, correct?
so you might I mean you could
Because I saw what was it?
so there's yeah leading
Yeah.
oh so I see what you're saying. So yes, for check-in, um that's where you want to assign specific people specific roles. Um
Mm-hmm.
so on that surge list that you had before, I can copy and paste that. Um and then um And then I'm keeping these notes on here. Well, actually I can delete them here. I'll hopefully when we look at the schedule, we just need to have dance lab and bonfire shouldn't open until 7.
Um, so I see here about like the tickets handout and checking wristbands. Where do we explain? Like I can also input the training video that I also have for the tickets in here. I could put that under the volunteer as well as leading during the event. Like, you know what I mean?
Say that again.
The YouTube video about how to use the ticketing. Uh,
So yeah, what you could do is right here for leading security during the event, you could put a link right there. That would be fine for like how to use the thing. And some of this will get changed and rearranged and refined. Like we're just trying to get like all the details we're
right.
basically making a rough draft. And it'll continue to get refined. The other thing that we're going to do each time is we're going to print these out. Obviously, the links don't work when we print it out, obviously, but we're going to print this out each time so that people can reference it in physical form during the event, reference the checklists, and then when we're doing the event, we need to be very diligent to add critical things that need to go into this between events because
Mhm.
I know I don't know about you, but when I'm doing the event, I'm thinking about a million things that I wish I would get into these training manuals. So, in the interest of time, We can keep doing some of these things, but what I'd like to do is just like walk you through
Right.
what I'm expecting you to do, and then you can do it on your own. But
Hmm.
just walk you through, make sure we're on the same page with what needs to happen. Um, we could also, if you could also link to the I thought that the we need to add a link to, we know what, I think it's, maybe it's back here for setup. Um, I don't think I don't think I ever added the part about check-in setup. So that would need to go. So I don't know if you saw where I'm at there, but I just added that under event setup, and so we want to link to the setup guide there. And we could even move that setup guide, and I can do that on my end, but we need to move that setup guide um to the same folder so that it's all in the same space. And then um if there's updates we need to do to the setup guide, we can do that as well. And then it also needs to be updated because that VIP desk is going to become the security like checkpoint. And I'm even thinking
Right.
that we might need to get a security pop-up sign that's like maybe says like security, first aid, I don't know, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
I'm the primary reason for that is for kids to know where to go, but then
Yeah.
also I want to have an overwhelming security presence when people come in, so that the parents feel safe and the kids understand that they better, not,
Behave.
yeah, they better behave. So, which on that note, I haven't heard it from Ralph at all about December 14th, so I'm assuming he's not available. He doesn't communicate very well. But I'm assuming that we're going to have no Job Corps people, which is drives me nuts. But just remind me, we'll probably have to put out an appeal for more dad volunteers to help with security for
And
this.
if it's not too late, maybe putting out a thing to Colony and Wasilla's JRTC program because they have required volunteer hours they need to do. Um, if
Yeah,
we want some high school boys.
I will, I'll reach out to both of them. I did a one-to-one last year. Reach out to JRTC about. Yeah, I'll reach out to both of them. The other thing I wanted that the other thing that triggered in my mind was for event area prep. I'm gonna put so when you think of stuff, even if you don't have time to do the whole thing at that moment,
Right.
just put placeholders in here. Um,
And I know Angel's a part of some group that does something similar. I don't know exactly what it's called. I don't know if it's part of Wasilla High School or what.
so just putting placeholders here. This isn't meant to be like a really polished thing.
Right.
But I want to start shifting responsibilities even like that away from me and having Steve do this in between events, have him reach out to either Ralph or these other ROTC programs. I can connect him to the people, but like if Steve and our other event leads will reach out to people in between these events, then everything's not bottlenecking through me. So while we're here, we need to charge um tablets. So this brings up an important thing too. Um, one of the pain points has always been like giving the phones out, making sure people have the phones, but then getting the phones back. And
Right.
so I think I'll have security be responsible for the phones and tablets and everything, like all of them, even the ones that photo booth uses. And just like people are checking out the walkie-talkies and um, the the binders and stuff. They're getting them from security. They're giving them back to security. That way, I have a one because I still haven't gotten the phones from the last event. And so um, so on here, so that's going to become actually that would probably take place back here. Um, um, I'll come back to that. I just need to think that through with that's more of a security issue. Um, there will be some volunteers and vol staff checking in late. Um,
Right.
we also have a kid zone check-in. This whole section is a bit of a mess. But what we need to do is just like think through how we want this presented in a simple way. And
Hmm.
you can take a stab at it, and then when me and Steve meet, it's going to be a work in progress. But you can, for now, I want you to focus on the details. What do they need to know when they're checking in volunteers? What do they need to know for
Right.
staff, for Kid Zone? You just focus on the bulleted lists, and then me, Demara, Steve, and the rest of the team will keep working on refining the presentation of it all. Um, and then this is actually, yeah. That is where incident process goes. And then afterward, like I want to be very specific with the breakdown in each area, um, on exactly how that goes. And like each lead should not put a lid on until that tote is ready to go. And then like how that whole process works. This area is going to be more involved in that than anybody else. And then after event breakdown, um, we also have um let me see what I called it in other I think I just called it after event. As a side note, you probably already know how this works, but when you highlight this, you can select right here what type of
Yeah,
heading
the
you want.
headers.
And so that way it creates a clickable so these are all
Glossary.
H1, and then on some of them I have H2 I use as well. But um we could have them I guess we'll keep that a hub task. Um and so then this is like the things that you're doing back in the toy room, to reset afterward. Um and then we need to be consistent with what kind of then upcoming needs is like just announcements and things that people need to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And these can become more specific to these each event area. And then I most of these I've already posted a link here to an event area Amazon list. I do have one for security, I think. I could put one there. I'll add that. And then my thinking is that this is all on a page. Um, like this is like the final page of the binder, and then
Mm-hmm.
they're just making notes here, and then the notes get incorporated into the next version. And so just like our events are a reiterative process, creating these manuals becomes a reiterative process. And so um I'll have you, Demara, or excuse me, Demara. I have you, Demara, help me print out all of these, put them in the binders each time. That's going to be a little labor intensive, but I feel like it's going to be helpful. Um, and so anyway, just any more, any thoughts on like sections that are missing that we need to cover, or is this going to cover
Um,
everything?
so yeah, I'm not too sure where this would go, but I want to do an FQA for any questions that come through on Ava Chat about and before the event. For example, questions I get, my parents' names on the ticket, is that still valid? Yes. Um, I didn't get my ticket. How do I get it? And like explaining those processes.
So do you think that the FAQs should go?
I don't know if they go on here or they go on the hub.
I think that they should go on the complete training manual so that all staff know the answers to
Okay.
these questions.
Right.
And I think we cover, yeah, we could have different sections for different types of FAQs, but I think it's important to give the FA, I think the FAQs is a really valuable section.
Right.
And I think that
Maybe we
my,
just have one FAQ and then again separated by different areas, or just have
um,
one at the bottom of each area.
I, let me think that through, but right now, what I'm thinking is that that would go here.
Okay.
And then what we would do is have
Check in slash RSVP.
so like why don't we call that pre-reg like yeah,
Yeah,
pre-registration.
pre-registration.
And then
Uh,
we will divide these by like the category that makes sense to like from a user perspective. And so like while pre-registration is part of a different system, like I want to think about it from the user experience.
Right.
So you've got pre-registration, you've got what I do a lot of times is just copy and paste these and then retype them. They don't know to ask questions at the hub, but like that's what they need to know about. The other thing that we get a
Right,
lot of questions about is food and concessions.
right.
Um,
Not much. What kinds of foods?
um, so you can go through and add your questions and answers. Um, what I would do is put the question in bold and then the answer in non-bold. Um, and just do a bulleted list for each of these. And then this is something like I mean, I we can start collecting those from all the staff, but I think you and I, if we sat down in a concentrated way, we could come up with a whole bunch of them. And so you work on it, I'll work on it, and then I'll get like Tyler's input and stuff, and we'll flesh this out. This is something that will probably create like once we have it down here, we'll probably create another document with the same ones and then link that somewhere where it's available or even have like some of these we could have Michelle or Jen put it on on the website. So um okay, good suggestion. I think for now that's a good place for that to live. Um
Yeah.
and then underneath there you've got all the event areas. Other Before we go to the hub manual, other input about either one of these first two that we looked at?
Um, yeah, it's just lots of edits that may need to be done, but other than that, I think we're on a good start.
So I got two more tools I want to show you. Um, so then going back to here, if you keep scrolling down, so the theme team again is an example of how like I want to group different event areas together in teams.
Right.
Um, and there would be some like collaboration between event areas and some resiliency between event areas. I've also got uh the hub is the hub is one of these. The hub is one of the ones that doesn't really have it like a team, but the hub is basically the leadership team. So me, you, Tyler, Demara, are kind of forming the leadership team of the overall event. And so, um, and I would like to have you cross-trained between communications lead and hub lead in the event that Demmer is not available, or in the event like the next event, Tyler's not going to be available. And so
Mm-hmm.
having additional leadership at the hub, I think would be important. So the things that are the the things that are um the overall like purpose of the hub is the seat of the hub is like planning the event itself. Like where is it at? What's the theme? The schedule, all of that stuff that happens behind the scenes. And then you've got basically four different sides of the hub. So you got the info side on the front, you've got the raffle side, problem side, and then the sales side. And then the hub also is a place for extra event supplies. If anybody needs something, they can come to the hub for extra supplies. And then we're going to have extra stuff in the trailer too. So we'll call this the leadership team. Um, and again, you've got the standard packing list. Um, the hub doesn't really have like a lot of themed stuff. Everybody else does. We don't really have a lot of themed stuff. It's going to be basically the same stuff every time. Um, so so just looking through the packing list. So this is a section I need your help on as well. Event planning and promotion. Um, so the first step is planning the overall so it usually starts with so we're planning the theme, we're planning the location for each one, and then and we probably we probably need to some of these manuals are going to get broken out into sections that aren't relevant at the event. And this is an area this is not actually relevant at the events, but it's really important to keep all this stuff in mind. And so what we'll probably do is build this information within here, but then the stuff that's like more planning and promotion will get pulled out and uh be a separate document under the main one because I don't want to have to print several pages of this stuff of like planning stuff. Then we secure the location. So the first thing is we design the flyer. Um, then we set up the keyword, update the smart waiver response, set up the keyword for the ticket link, set up the, and we could do this here and then update the smart waiver response. Call this pre-registration. Do you know what I'm talking about with those two?
Um, keyword.
So the first one is the keyword that's on the flyer, and then the second
Yeah.
one is the keyword that's on the smart waiver.
Yes.
Then we update the waiver response. We set up the ticket link in mobile cause. Um, One of the things that Stephanie and I talked about yesterday, and I apologize about the vagueness of what I'm about to say, but Stephanie and I talked about bringing you on full time next semester. And we also talked about like getting you a laptop and specifically for the purpose of it's fine to create the flyers in Canva, but a lot of the things that I create in Publisher. And so I
Yeah, so the first flyer I did, I created in Canva. The second one I created in Adobe. And
okay,
that's what I use for school. So,
Adobe.
um yeah.
So what I'm wanting to give you is more options, not less.
Yeah.
We have Adobe. If this works out for you to work full time next semester, we have Adobe licenses and we also have Microsoft licenses.
Oh, perfect.
And so what I would like you to be able to, the signs that I make in Publisher. The flyers I make in Publisher. I use
Mhm.
Publisher, and you could probably do some of the same things with Adobe, but I just have the files to be able to easily, like the mobile cause version, for instance, it's a specific ratio, and then all I do is I take a previous mobile cause version and then save a new one, just literally just slapping the flyer in the location of the other flyer, and then
Yeah.
that gives me a really wide margin over here so that it looks good on the ticket link.
Yeah.
Um, and so those are the types of tasks that if you're able to work full time next semester, um, and all that works out, I would like to be able to shift to your plate of just doing all that stuff, and
Mhm.
giving you the tools that you need to do all of that stuff. Um, and one second is thank you, comma, we will send him back to get him tomorrow if he doesn't bring him home, comma, thanks for your help. Um, so again, looking through this list, like the last time, I mean, we were reminding each other the things that need to happen. And what I've said before is like there's there's the thinking about your work and then there's just doing your work. And what I
Right.
find so exhausting is the process of having to remember every time all the things that need to happen. And that's what I get stressed out about because it just kind of all comes into me like a log jam. And so creating a system for what needs to happen and what order it needs to happen, so that we know that we've covered each base and we're not remembering things because somebody just texted us a keyword from 2 events ago or whatever,
Right.
from the smart waiver. And so it's a lot to keep up with, and there may be ways that we can simplify the process moving forward, but I think right now it's more work on the front end, but then it makes the system more automated for the rest of the RSVP time. And then also like I want to continue to lean on you if there's other things we need to do to make your job easier and more efficient. Let's figure out how to do it. I One of the things that we need to do a dive on, maybe in January, is updating the survey. I think that the activity
Right.
survey hasn't had a good update in a while, and there may be things that we can just really clean that up and streamline it and add things like dance lab, music lab, activities that we're actually offering all the time. And I like collecting all the information, but at this point, I feel like we've been doing it for 4 years, and I think it's a little misleading to have all those activities on there with no, hope in
Yeah.
sight of offering any of them. So anyway, if you think of other things that need to happen, let's help me keep this up to date. Um, Check out the hub map. Again, Tyler's not going to be here this time, and so I'm primarily wanting you to run communications, but then um, Demero will be there.
I roughly know how a lot about how the hub stuff works, so it shouldn't be too difficult.
Um, I'll have my computer there. We could also log your computer into some of the documents, like the volunteer location
Right.
documents and the Squarespace, or not Squarespace, but the the whatever it's called, the Square app that allows you to pay for stuff. But check out the layout map so that you're just familiar with that. Um, and then and then just keep helping flesh this out as well. And then basically everything else is the same. Um, so any other thoughts on that? Or are you seeing anything that's missing that we need to cover?
I think we got so far.
Okay. And then the final thing I wanted to show you is I'm working on a new inventory sheet for the toy room.
Okay.
And because of this other document I'm working on, I'm primarily organizing as often as possible, I'm organizing stuff by event area because that's how it's gonna be packed and that's how people are gonna be responsible for it. That makes it a little bit clunky when Reach 907 or Young Life are trying to borrow something, but it makes a lot more sense for our team. And so what the way that this is outlined is the first column is event team. And incidentally, all of the areas don't have teams. So like Kid Zone, Art Lab, Sport Court, Code Blue, I Am Somebody, like we could put Code Blue and I Am Somebody in a team.
Mhm. Right.
That's something that we've already been talking about and just figuring out what that team is and how that works. I think we also have Dance Lab and Music Lab. That's going to be a performance team grouped
Mhm.
together because they're going to be doing live performances, which that reminds me. Heck, oh wait, let me just check something real quick. Yeah, I didn't. Okay, I did include that. I always forget if I've done something or not. And then what I need to do is so this is just for me to remember to add that because as I was organizing things last night, I made that change, and so I need this to reflect it. But they're going to be collaborating together for the live music and the live um dance stuff. So they don't have although they don't have very much stuff.
Mhm.
Let me put this back up here. So then the next column is event area. And so like AV includes like the TVs that we use for the it's basically the stuff that Brian sets up. And so what's going to be a little weird is like some of the speakers are going to fall under main stage and some of the speakers are going to fall under Brian's department because he'll go around and set up the speakers for people who don't have them. Category is um like what kind of tables would be an example of a category thing, signage, crowd control. The category is really for people who are borrowing stuff that's outside of our area to like quickly find games, quickly find certain types of games. Down here, I'm gonna move party game to the category. And then so when Jana is borrowing something, this is the type of thing this is the information she's looking for. And we need to be able to scan the list to find, if that makes sense. And then the container label, that would be like, bubble machines. And then, and I think it might be one. And then we put two on there. And then we put container type, black and yellow tote, notes. So actually, after using this, I think I probably want to move the notes to the other side so that there's more space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we're working on that. We're working on finally putting up that grid system to where each shelf, Courtney helped me with this last week. Each shelf is going to have a certain, like A2. Um, and so we're going to reorganize things and then we'll start labeling shelves. And generally speaking, we keep things the same during the school year and during the summer. Like we kind of move things around a little bit. And so the location is probably going to be one of the like least accurate things on here just because I haven't figured out how to lock things down. Um, and things get loaned out all the time and things get moved around for various reasons, but it probably needs to have a final home someplace. And so we just need to figure out, the resting place for each thing. So my question is there what are your thoughts on this way of organizing it, and do you have any feedback?
I think it looks great. Um, it's definitely very organized, and I think it will definitely benefit us once it gets done.
And I'm trying to think through like different people's reason for accessing this. The
Right.
primary purpose are Thrive event team members who are trying to plan activities for their area and
Mm-hmm.
just being able to give them a list of everything that they have. And then and what we might what we might even do, I don't know, there
Check
may
in
be
and check out.
there may be a way of using this as the packing list. And I need to talk to Dan Hoover about that because he's my IT guy. There we have these packing lists and then we also have this. And so there might be a way that we could combine these somehow. I don't know how to do that yet.
And if there's a way that we could also use this for people who want to check stuff out.
Right. And that's the other category. So on that note, should how could we put on here, like if somebody's borrowing something, how could we put that information on here? Um,
Um, I like the I like the idea of so like this could where they have a drop down and
uh-huh,
saying in the toy room
uh-huh.
versus out of the toy room, and then checked out by if that could be a different column.
So what would help me is like more of a almost I don't know how to interface the two tools, but
Right.
what I need is to know looking ahead. I get people who ask me, can I have this on these dates? And can I have can and then when are they bringing it back? And then how many people did they use it for? Like what was the date that they used it for and how many people got to use it? And so
Hmm.
maybe that has to be a form. I don't know. Like maybe we
Maybe.
just do like a form entry. I don't know how to keep track of that yet. That's
Yeah.
it's and part of the other problem is like I can do an inventory with our team once a year, maybe. Maybe I can get it done once a year. So far, I haven't been able to. But as far as like as far as me being able to update this every time somebody takes it, um, that's usually just information that's in my head. But if you want to keep thinking about that problem and then think about think about better systems for checking things in and out, I'm definitely interested in your ideas. Um, and sometime like me and Courtney are catching up on stuff at the toy room, but I'm basically working there each Friday. Once I get this training manual fleshed out, I may go there more frequently. And um I'm gonna be depending on like leads to help me inventory stuff, and I'm gonna be depending on me and Courtney just taking big chunks of stuff and inventorying it at the same time. I'd like to eventually get internet at the toy room and
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to make that work. Um, but any other thoughts on this? The other thing I at the bottom, like the types of things that don't fit into a simple category.
Right,
uh,
because they're yeah.
like the swim toys and stuff, outside toys, whatever. We also have Thrive Blast, and then we also have like other just random categories of crap in there. Um, and so I was also thinking about like inventory management, and that's something else that I don't have capacity to like, you know, keep updated how many cups we have and how many plates,
Mm-hmm.
and not even like a specific count, but like just even a general count.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So we probably need like a supply order sheet and a concessions order sheet. That's probably the other some of the other tools I need to make. But anyway, that's probably enough for now. Um so any other thoughts? I'm
Um, not at the moment, no.
trying to figure out.